Hello and welcome to this video on appraising cross-sectional studies. During this tutorial, we will look at key factors to investigate when appraising this type of study. Let's start by looking at what a cross-sectional study is. A cross-sectional study is a type of observational study, which can be split into two types, descriptive or analytical. They are different from cohort and case control studies as they measure the outcome and exposure at the same time. The data is often collected via surveys or questionnaires, but other methods can be used as well. Typically, they are used to support other studies and in the planning stages of a cohort study, plus they have the advantage of being quick and cheap to run. However, they do have their issues, including a higher risk of bias and difficulties with identifying trends in the research. Therefore, they can offer valuable insights, but it is important to do a thorough appraising of any cross-sectional study you read. As mentioned, cross-sectional studies can be prone to bias. You may notice these as you read the paper, or the researchers will discuss how they try to overcome bias. The first type of bias which can affect a cross-sectional study is selection bias. This occurs when there is an error during the selection process, meaning those included no longer represent the target population. This in turn can lead to problems with the outcomes. Selection bias can be split into different types, including survival bias, which is when there are differences between those included and those not included due to death or participants becoming severely ill and having to drop out. Common selection biases in cross-sectional studies are non-response bias and self-selection bias due to the heavy use of surveys and questionnaires. This is when there may be differences from the target population due to who takes part versus those who do not. Cross-sectional studies can also suffer from information bias, also known as classification or measurement bias. This is where there are problems with how the data has been collected, handled, and recorded. Two types you might see are recall bias, which is when participants cannot accurately remember a past event, and detection bias, where the researchers have not measured or assessed outcomes correctly. There are a number of ways the researchers can try to reduce the risk of bias. This includes providing as much detail and information as possible, such as tables with the characteristics of the participants, having a clear inclusion and exclusion criteria with justified reasons, and using a valid and reliable measurement. Confounders are also a common problem in cross-sectional studies. These are additional factors outside of the main research, which could cause a change in results, the most common being baseline characteristics and lifestyle factors, such as age, weight, and smoking habits. In the paper you're reading, it is important to check if the researchers identified possible confounders and how they were going to deal with them. Can you spot any they may or not have accounted for? To adjust for confounding, researchers may use one or more of the following options. They may choose to use matching to make sure the participants are as similar as possible to each other, or there is restriction, where participants are removed based on one or more confounders they have. There are also data analysis processes which can check for confounding, such as stratification, regression, and sensitivity analysis. Thank you for watching this video. If you need further support with critical appraisal, please speak to your site library or visit our Moodle courses available 24/7.